Hi, we're here at the Cole Center where the UW Varsity Band is getting ready for their annual spring band concert this coming weekend. For 39 years, Professor Michael Leckrone has led the UW Band, and for 35 of those years, they've held an annual spring band concert that started out small, but has grown by leaps and bounds to include flying through the air and pyrotechnics, and of course, lots of great band music from Wisconsin tunes to Broadway tunes to rock and roll. So we sat down with Michael Leckrone in the week leading up to this year's band show to find out what kind of work goes into staging and putting on this show each and every year. So 35 years ago, these shows started less than 500 people watching, if I'm correct, right? In Mills Hall.
First one, Mills Hall, 1975. We were stretching to say we had 500, probably about 480, 450 in there someplace.
Okay. So is this anything like you imagined at that time that this is what it would become?
Never. I mean, I wasn't even sure we were going to do it a second year. I mean, when we first started it, and people said, well, that was fun, why don't you do it another year? So we added a few people, got about 1,000 people the next night, and then moved to the field house, and then it just sort of was out of control from that point on to what we have now.
Right. What kind of things did you see that drove that sort of expansion and growth? I mean, we're here in the midst of a pretty large-scale production.
Well, what happened is people very early on, even almost after that first year, said, we really enjoyed it. What are you going to do next year? I kept getting that sort of statement. What are you going to do next year? And that sort of prompted me to think, well, they liked what they saw, but they want a little more the next time. And that starts to create a monster for you after a period of time. It's like, what do you do next year? So what we've tried to do is to add to the production values, try to keep the band playing a lot of music, but add some guest artists so that when people come in, they know they're going to get the band show. They're going to get a lot of fifth quarter things that are fun to do. They're going to hear the band play a lot of music, but they're also going to get some icing on the cake, so to speak, in the terms of staging effects. And I think that's one of the things that's been fun for us, is to take some of the tunes that we play and actually make them productions rather than just a piece that you would play as a band concert.
Right. And when you're putting together a production like that, that's not something that you decide last Saturday, hey, let's put on a show. How soon after last year's show does the planning start for this year's show?
Actually, last year I think we had a meeting in early June, sort of a wrap-up of what we did right, what we want to do better, sort of a thing. And then at that same meeting, we started to say, okay, now where do we go from here? What can we add to what the show's going to be? And so it's been, it's almost a 9-month, 10-month project to start planning what tunes you're going to play, and can we add something new, guest artists. So it's at least 10 months ahead of time that we really start thinking about it.
Right. And how, you come from a background of playing with the band and athletics and arenas and things like that. Where are some of the places that inspiration comes from for even seeing some of these effects that you bring out here? I know here in Madison, I saw you at the Trans-Siberian Orchestra show. Somewhat similar, some of the pyrotechnics
Sure.
and things. Are those places you look for that?
Well, sure. I mean, one of the reasons I went to the show is I heard they had a great pyrotechnic effect, and they do. I mean, it's a super effect, and I hadn't seen them before. And what they do is very similar to the kind of thing that we do. They do it at a very professional level, but it's just a presentation of music with some added glitz that makes it fun to watch. I regularly take time out to go to New York, see Broadway productions, go to Las Vegas whenever I can. We have a number of students who've migrated to Las Vegas and are working in various stage areas out there. Go to Los Angeles. I try to pick, see anything that comes to Madison that I think might have some relevance, I try to go see and steal whatever I can steal from them.
Tell me about the first time that you flew into an arena. I know that's sort of become a calling card.
Well, the first time you'd say I flew, it was very, very primitive. It was back at the old field house, and I convinced people, or they convinced me, I'm not sure which way it worked, that if I put my foot in a loophole off of a rope, that I could step off the third balcony in the field house and be lowered onto the stage. And I thought that sounded like fun until I actually looked down and had to take that first step off the stage. That was probably my first, but once it's sort of exhilarating, it's kind of like becomes addictive. And now we have a group of people from, they're called Flying by Foy, which we developed, it just sort of evolved into something more professional. Now, these people do flying of stage productions literally all over the world. They were one of the very first ones to do some of the technology that they've got to do it now. I mean, it's great. It's just great fun. I mean, it's as close to weightlessness as I'll ever get, and it's just fun to do. And as you say, we feel like it's become part of the show. I've talked a couple times about, well, let's not do it next year. And immediate response, I get, no, people come. You know, that's one of the little side attractions. So as long as it is, it's a lot of fun for me. So why not?
There you go. There you go. Now, outside of the lights and the glitz and the pyrotechnics, the basis really is the music. That's
right.
What people are coming for. What sort of decisions go into knowing what's going to work in this type of a setting that might not have worked at a football game or did work here, or vice versa?
Well, some of it's trial and error. We sort of feel by this point we know our audience. Our audience is a mixture. It's an interesting mixture. It's an interesting mixture of parents, some hardcore Badger fans, some really young people. We get a lot of kids come to the concert because they love hear the band play. And so what I try to do is program it so it hits all ages. I've often referred to the old Ed Sullivan show. You're far too young to remember it, but on Ed Sullivan, he just changed pace so quickly from one thing to the other, and sort of the attitude is, if you don't like what we're doing, wait a minute, because there's going to be something else that you will like. And that's kind of the way I program the music. We try not to get stuck on any one kind of music. There'll be some rock and roll, there'll be some Broadway, there'll be some swing from that era, and that's really what we try to do. And plus I think it's a great educational opportunity for the students in the band to learn how to play various styles of music. We have a great jazz violinist coming, and most of these students don't play a lot of what we'd call swing, and to have to learn how to play accompaniments for him was an education in itself. So I figure that's part of what I do too, is an educational process as well as trying to entertain people. So it's a pretty broad spectrum that we look for, but literally we want a little bit of everything in the show so that we don't get programmed. I think we would not have the audience we had if we played a whole evening of jazz, if we played a whole evening of rock and roll. So basically that's what you're going to get when you come to one of our shows. And
that diversity expands to the guest musicians that you have, that you've got a interesting lineup again this year of guest musicians, a talented group.
We do have Randy Sabine, the man I mentioned, who's he's one of the world's great jazz violinists, lives up in Hayward, Wisconsin when he's not touring, and is sort of an outdoorsy guy and really likes it up there. We have a group called Cat's Pajamas, a great vocal group, two of which are former band members. They've been doing cruise ships and really performing all over the Midwest. They're going to be very popular because they're a different kind of thing. We have a young woman, a Madison native, who's been appearing in Broadway and Las Vegas and some of the musical shows. Allie Foss, she's going to be performing. So just in those three, we've got a great lineup. One of our former students, Grant Manhart, has a great group of trumpets playing sort of somewhere between Blood, Sweat, and Tears and Stan Kenton, and they're going to present a short segment on the show. So yeah, we try to bring guest artists in who bring a whole lot of dimensions to what we're doing as well.
So with those musicians and how many band members do you get up on the stage?
You're going to see 260 on the stage.
260?
260-piece backup band.
How do you manage all that and prepare for even just the logistics of that, never mind all of the extra effects on the outside of it?
Well, there again, we start pretty early. I mean, once we finish the football season, it used to be that we were finished with the football season at the end of November because we didn't know what bowl games were. Now our football season is extended through December, so we really can't start working on the show until second semester starts. But we start giving people bits and pieces of it once we get into what we call the bowl season. There's enough time with bowl preparation to start edging some things in, and so we start preparing the musicians to play quite early on, and we literally devote almost all of our rehearsal time once second semester starts to doing what we're going to be doing this week.
Excellent. And is there anything different as either a band leader or a performer? All of a sudden they're the center of attention, not part of the crowd like they are at some of these athletic events, at a hockey game or a basketball game or even the football games?
Well, I won't say that's the reason we started doing it, but that sort of evolved also into being one of the side effects. Very early on, the band started to take great pleasure, and they still do. All these people came to see us. I mean, that's, they didn't come to watch, one of Bo Ryan's teams or one of Mike Eves' teams. They came to watch us, and it's kind of a big ego boost for them. And I think it also sort of is a payback for the amount of time that they do spend doing these other things, and they accept that role quite well. I mean, they love playing for basketball and hockey and football. That's part of the reason they get in the band. But I think this is kind of neat to think they came to see us. We used to joke early on that we'd have maybe the basketball team do a shooting demonstration at intermissions so we could turn the tables on them, but we've never gone quite that far.
For this year's show, is there one point that you're particularly looking forward to?
Well, I think in past years, one of the things that we have really aimed at is to take a Broadway production and to, in a sense, make it our own and reproduce it for this arena, for this venue, for our people, and to make it a real full-blown production. It usually lasts somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes, and it's a lot of attention focused on that. We focus a lot of the staging on it. We focus just everything on making that a miniature stage production. This year we're doing Jesus Christ Superstar, and I think we look forward to that because we put so much effort into making it real. What we try to do and what our goal is to make the audience feel like in 15 minutes they've seen the entire production. And sometimes it comes off remarkably well. We hope it does this year too.
Mm-hmm. And I know, you say 3 nights, thousands of fans in here. I imagine you're seeing some of the same people year after year that come to see this.
We have people literally who come all 3 nights, the same people, and they've done it for years. They'll come and they want the same seats, and they want the same seats for all 3 nights, and I keep asking them why, but they get a kick out of. There are slight changes from night to night, and the audience responds. The band responds differently from night to night. But oh yeah, we have a mailing list of patrons that have been literally from the very first concert we do. I sort of tease sometimes. So many people tell me they were at the first concert. I keep saying Mills Hall wasn't that big because I know they weren't all there, but a lot of them mistake the Fieldhouse concerts for the very first ones. But they're very loyal, and boy, are we grateful for that.
So 35 years of spring band concerts, another 35 to go?
God, how old will I be? But no, it's just so much fun. I can't imagine not doing it. I suppose there'll come a time when I can't. But right now, I find myself already making notes. Next year we can do this, and in fact, as we have a production meeting coming up in the next day or so, and we're going to sit down and we're going to say this is great, and then I'll start edging in. Well, now we didn't get this done this year, but next year we got to think about that. And this is a great time to do it because we have all these people here that have the stage abilities, and we can talk about what it will take to do maybe what we envision for future events.